Yet again, Christian Slater, not the biggest fan of him, dude. He has like a slimy feel to him.
Yeah, but is what you're reacting to good acting? Like, is what you're
Yeah,
reacting
I
to
guess.
the feeling that the performer is trying to invoke?
Confessions of a Film Poser!
Welcome to Confessions of a Film Poser. My name is Eli.
And I'm Vince.
Each week, we pick a classic movie we've been pretending that we've seen, but never actually watched.
We'll talk about why we've never seen this movie, what we expect going into it, and then we'll watch it and give you our first time reactions. No silver screen snobbery here, just two movie posers talking about movies. So let's go, dude. Wowza!
Will we like it? Will we hate it? Will we disagree and end our friendship over a subjective movie opinion? There's only one way to find out. Watch the video. This week, we're watching Heathers from 1989. So, posers, tell us why you've never seen this movie. The title's never screamed, watch me, watch me. In a world of the 1980s teen angst movie, I'm gonna go John Hughes. This was always John Hughes adjacent to me. After watching the trailer, I think there's more to it than that.
This was a movie that my high school girlfriends always said was their favorite, and because of that, I never gave it a chance. But after watching the trailer, it does seem fun. I'm excited to check this out, dude.
Heathers is a darkly comedic take on high school life in the late 1980s. Veronica Sawyer, played by Winona Ryder, navigates the social hierarchy of Westburg High. Dominated by the ultra-popular but cruel trio of girls all named Heather, Veronica teams up with the new student, the charming but psychopathic Jason J.D., played by Christian Slater. After a series of accidental deaths, Veronica must confront JD's increasingly violent tendencies while challenging the toxic power dynamics around her. Known for its sharp dialogue, quotable lines, and memorable soundtrack, Heathers influenced later films like The Craft, Jawbreaker, and Mean Girls, cementing it as the GOAT of dark teen satire. Heathers was suggested months ago by a viewer we had for our previous video for the first time watching True Romance. A viewer by the name of @DavyDread14 said Heathers, starring Christian Slater and Winona Ryder, is an excellent dark comedy teen drama that is definitely worth watching. So we're making good. I told him we'd add it to the list, and here we are.
After watching this trailer, I'm expecting it to be pretty dark. I feel like some trailers, and this one specifically, kind of look like it just gave out the entire movie premise. So I'm not expecting to have any twists or turns to this. It seems like a group of girls are going to die, and it seems like maybe they deserved it. And I think the only question that I have is at the end, it seems like Winona Ryder's character is going to have a change of heart and realize that she's doing terrible and dubious things, and I wonder if JD is going to turn his aimer towards her.
My expectations are that I want at least one character with the name Heather, and we know that's happening from the name and from the description that we read at the beginning of it. I think that all three Heathers are going to start out evil, but I think at least one Heather is turned before the end of the movie and she sees the light, maybe she doesn't want to be killed by JD, I don't know. But I think she's going to have a come to Jesus moment, and I think there's going to redemption. I think we can encapsulate our thoughts on this movie and expectations is there's going to be redemption towards the end. Well, let's pass it off to future Vince and Eli and see if their expectations were correct. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe, come back, give us your film poser confessions in the comments. Let's get interactive. This episode is proof that if you suggest a movie, eventually, we'll add it to the list and we'll watch it. Vince, pass it off. Not that hard.
Eskimo.
Hey, Vince, first question I have for you after watching Heathers for the first time is, what's your damage, dude?
I don't know what my damage is, and I also don't know how I feel about that movie.
All right, let's get into it. I'm excited about this one because, there's a lot to this movie. You know, your expectation kind of came to fruition.
As it usually does, dude.
You're usually wrong, but in this case, you're right. Your expectation was that when Winona Ryder's character was going to have a turn and kind of go against JD, and that pretty much happened. My expectation was that there was going to be a lot of Heathers, or at least one character named Heather. There were three, so I was right about that. And sure, you can say, well, yeah, it's in the trailer. Okay, whatever. One of my other expectations and my prediction, really quick, one of my predictions was that one of the Heathers would have a turn, and that kind of happened.
Kind of. I realized after we stopped recording the first part, another one of my predictions, not really prediction, but like I thought that the group of Heathers was going to allow her in. Veronica. I thought they were going to make her change her name to Heather. I forgot to add that. That didn't happen, but I was like, okay, maybe that's going to be a thing in the movie is like, if you want to be part of the Heathers, you need to legally change your
Heather.
name.
Yeah. I mean, we were one step away from that happening, let's be honest. But before we get started, we're kind of thinking about switching up the format for the show, kind of trying to streamline some of our thoughts and ideas after we watch it. So we're going to like introduce new segments to the show, one of which is going to be controversial. I know that. And we'll have to question whether we're going to keep with that one or not. But I thought it would be funny to do what I'm calling the Film Poser Film Summary. Now, sure, you could have a film summary that's perfectly succinct. You know, we had a little bit of it at the beginning of the show, but I want the Film Poser version, which really is just going to be the half-baked perspective of one of us film posers. I would like to either you or I go through the film as we saw it, just hit the bullet points super quick. Really, the game is to see how quickly we could do this and try to hit everything. And the other poser kind of gives their input of that's kind of the way they saw the movie too. So do you want to do the Film Poser film summary, or would you like me to do it this week?
I feel like I want you to, because I want to see how you're going to format this.
All right. So this movie starts with Veronica, who's a really smart girl, but she's kind of in this crux in her high school life, in this small town in Ohio. She's gifted, can write well. She narrates this movie through her journals, which I thought was really cool. So she's journaling kind of the hierarchy of how this school works. She's linked up and kind of given herself over to the Heathers of the school. There's 3 Heathers. The movie starts with them playing a game of croquet, and they're using her as one of the croquet. I don't know croquet very well, but it's like one of the pins, I guess, of the croquet, or if you're a croquet master, put in the comments what that's called. And that kind of just sets up where she's at in her relationship with these Heathers. There's one Heather that's kind of the lead Heather. Her name is Heather Chandler, and she just is terrible. She's graduating. So Veronica's trying to kind of hitch her wagon to the popular crowd. I believe that Veronica's going into her senior year. Heather's taking her to all of these parties and everything. Well, in the meantime, there's in the cafeteria, they do this thing called the lunchtime poll. JD is in the corner, played by Christian Slater, and he is watching all of this kind of go down. And you kind of see Winona Ryder's character, Veronica, have problems, right, with the way that the popular crowd runs things, and they kind of exploit the quote-unquote lower classes of the nerds and just some of the other people that aren't the popular crowd in this high school. Well, as the movie progresses, Winona Ryder's character, Veronica, kind of starts falling for JD. He's got this kind of nihilistic viewpoint of the whole high school crowd and popularity and what it means. So he comes up with a plan. Veronica and the lead Heather go to a college party that's full of all kinds of scumbags and vultures that are there to prey on young girls. And they get drunk. Winona Ryder gets sick. Heather is hungover the next day. JD comes over and meets up with Veronica and convinces her. And they're a little bit unclear. It's not necessarily he convinces her, but he puts like Drano in her morning coffee, this concoction that he's come up with, and kind of dupes Veronica into giving in to Heather. Heather dies. He convinces Veronica, who's like really got great handwriting, she can mimic handwriting, writes a suicide letter for the lead Heather, and everybody in the school thinks that she offed herself and that she unalived herself, as you know, if we have to speak in
as the guidelines say.
Yes, the guidelines say as the overlord's command. So then he kind of starts going down the line and starts killing off and framing it to look like they're suicides. There's this scene with the two, the linebacker and the quarterback, where he stages it to make it look like they were gay lovers that couldn't come out of the closet. And so they had like a murder unaliving. So as it goes on, much to Vince's prediction, Winona Ryder's character starts having a problem with it, and then starts to realize that Christian Slater's character is basically just replacing what was wrong with the Heathers and the hierarchy of this high school, society, and replacing the Heathers and the problem that they are and the cruelness with this nihilistic chaos, extreme mentality. And so at the end of it, Christian Slater's character, JD, plans on blowing up the whole school, and Winona Ryder stops it. And then in the very end, he ends up blowing himself up, and she's left, and she kind of embraces this life of being kind to people, is the way that I perceived it. That's the summary of the movie. A lot of stuff left out, very half-baked, a lot of interruptions. But what do you think? Did I cover the base, like the bullet points, basically?
I think you covered it. You did skip the murder of the other Heather.
That didn't happen though. That was a dream sequence.
Oh, you're right, dude.
That was a dream sequence, but there was a plan to there, and also there was a plan to kill the second Heather, the one that replaced the first Heather that was like it and became and kind of there's definitely a message in there too of like you take out one status symbol and another one kind of takes its place and absorbs the power and deals it out in the same way. But there's this sequence that basically he's making Veronica, JD's making Veronica believe that he's going to off this other Heather, but he's really going to off her because she started kind of seeing the counterpoint of view. She's definitely complicit in all of these murders, by the way.
Yeah, let's break into how we feel about this movie.
Yeah,
dude.
Go into it. I mean, I hope that summary made enough sense, but
yeah, it totally did. Parts of this movie I really liked. There's some really cool like framing shots that they do. There's the part where they like are cow tipping, and then he comes and finds her, and the way that was filmed I thought was so cool, and it had her like in the center and then like everything going around on the sides of her. The lighting was super cool. I didn't like the interactions. I didn't really get it. I didn't understand like the stylized way of this movie, if that makes sense. The way that she communicates with her parents always felt weird. There were parts that I laughed, and there's a lot of lines in this movie that I can't repeat here on YouTube. This movie's very 80s. Overall, I don't know how much I liked this, dude.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It's definitely a response to the 80s teen angst, John Hughes type movies.
Yeah.
And what I noticed about this movie is that like the first half of it, when it's kind of the hierarchy shift and Veronica's trying to become part of it, trying to become a Heather, it's very straightforward in its approach. And then as JD starts to take over, it becomes definitely more stylistic. There's even a dolly zoom that I noticed in there at one point.
Yeah.
Straight up out of, Vertigo. And it becomes almost this, I don't want to call it a horror film, but it becomes a suspense thriller. But yeah, to your point, the way that they tackle this movie is strangely prophetic. It's kind of a perfect movie to end the 80s and go into the 90s because it's kind of prophetic of like what we're seeing, ever since 99 with Columbine, what's going on in schools and
that's true, man,
and violence and everything else like that in a really weird, off-putting way that to me would definitely hamper my rewatchability. It is hard to watch, and the most ironic thing about it is that it is ironic, but it's very funny. The dialogue is hilariously funny at certain really points. I laughed out loud, and I just it was this constant give and take of darkness and like delivering lines with sincerity that were absolutely stupid, and it was kind of this weird mixture of tone.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the opening scene of him getting bullied by the football players and he pulls out a gun with blanks. But like just the idea of him pulling out a gun and having a gun at school, the second that happened, I was like, oh man, this movie would not age well today.
Right. This is a movie you could not make today, dude.
No, this is a movie that you probably couldn't show in a high school classroom today for sure. It's kind of weird. I told you that the only people that I knew that watched this movie were like girls that I dated in high school, and this was like some of their favorite movies, and that kind of like I was kind of thinking about that too, and I was like, okay, this is kind of strange, dude. Yet again, Christian Slater, not the biggest fan of him, dude. He has like a slimy feel to him, especially in this movie. He's a slimy person, but I don't know, dude. He had some funny one-liners.
Yeah, but is what you're reacting to good acting? Like, is what you're reacting
I
to
guess,
the feeling that the performer is trying to invoke?
I feel like when it comes to Christian Slater, the character that he is bringing is Christian Slater, and it always is. And I don't know if this was his first movie, but he always is the same person in every movie, and that might be why I don't care for him that much.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I feel like his Christian Slaterness is what it worked so well for this character.
Yeah, totally.
At the beginning, at the beginning, they almost want you, because his name is like James Dean or whatever. Like they want you to look Jason at him Dean. As this like, oh, I'm a counterculture. I have a different perspective, a different philosophy. And that is what wraps her into it. And that I thought was kind of brilliant, because the first half of this is a teen angst 80s movie that turns into this dark and twisted viewpoint, and you as the viewer see it get twisted through Veronica, and it leaves you with such a like nasty feeling at the end, mixed in with like undercutting certain scenes and like really serious themes with funny dialogue. I understand why the girls, these mysterious girls, these girls that have no names and no faces that you reference, that you dated an army of in high school,
so many of them. I stole 3 of them from you.
Yeah, and that, like, now I get it. No, but I understand it. Like, if it's very quotable. I watched the first part of it with my wife before she got up because she didn't like it, and she compared it to American Pie. She's like, "Wow, this is more of like an American Pie." It was like way filthier in dialogue and like jokes and stuff than I ever thought it would be as well. So I was like, okay, I can see that. But it's almost like it's less John Hughes and more of a mixture of like American Pie, teen movie, and like almost like a John Waters movie.
Definitely John Waters in like in certain characters. There's I always forget the guy's name.
I know what you're gonna say Glenn Shaddix, dude.
Shaddix, dude. The
Glenn
second I
Shaddix
saw
is
him,
my favorite.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Him and Ryder together. I was like, okay, Beetlejuice. I love
Beetlejuice. Dunstan checks in, baby.
Dude,
Dunstan checks in.
Dude, I haven't seen or even heard of that in so long.
Dude,
let's add that to the list, dude.
The other Paul Rubens character doesn't get talked about ever when he's like Pungo Pygmaeus. Anyway, I could go on a tangent on that. I watched that movie so much as a kid.
We got to add like our favorite kids movies of all time, and then do like
I got that one on VHS ready to go, buddy. And
do you?
It's from my childhood collection. It's the one that I watched. I'm throwing that on when I'm working tomorrow. Okay,
throw it on, dude.
What would you say? I know that you didn't care for Christian Slater. What would you say is your best poser performance? Which actor in the movie? What performance was the MVP?
It's we've already said it. Glenn Shaddix or whatever. Every time he came on screen, I was laughing because he was the whole. It happened with him, but it also happened with the school. Every time one of these characters off themselves, for some reason they spread the notes. Like everyone had like the tangible original note, and they're like this for one of the girls that I guess actually didn't die. The second Heather didn't die.
Yeah, Shannon Doherty. We'll call her Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty. She didn't die, but there's a scene with him, and he's like, "I'm holding the Moby Dick book that she took notes from," and what was
Eskimo.
Dude,
yeah,
he was funny. I hate Christian Slater, so he's not going to be my pick. Ryder was fantastic. I thought she was really good in this movie, but every time that Glenn came on the screen, I would just chuckled. So I'm going to say that was my favorite.
Yeah, Glenn Shaddix was definitely. Anytime that guy pops up, well, we're doing like this should be the final episode of this podcast, and we should just start the Glenn Shaddix Memorial. Podcast.
Is he
dead?
Would
only be. He's dead, but it would only be about 6 episodes long because I don't think he was in very. Like I think he retired at one point and just like moved to the Midwest somewhere.
She was in Bobby's World. He did a voice. He was in All Real Monsters. He was in Dinosaurs, dude. He was in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This guy was in everything.
Glenn Shaddix, dude.
Dude, Glenn Shaddix.
This channel loves Glenn Shaddix. If you could say anything about us, you can say whatever you want, but you can't say that we don't stan Glenn Shaddix, dude.
That's true, man. We got to make shirts.
My performance, I got to give it to Winona Ryder. I thought, she's probably coming off. I don't know what she did in between Beetlejuice and this. I'm sure she did quite a few things. But I can honestly see how, this and Christian Slater both, I can see how this kind of propelled them into the 90s, into the movies that we all know and love from them. I just thought she treaded a line that was very tough. And the direction, I give props to the director too, because he's dealing with topics that are not, even for that time, which is not as, the themes aren't as prevalent as they probably are today in the real world. But man, he really kind of hit on something, that it's not easy to deal with. And I just felt like Winona Ryder, because there's parts of the movie where you don't like her character. Her as the proxy to the audience, you kind of develop along with her. I thought the characters were really strong in this movie. And I think, her as the lead character worked incredibly well. And I got a place in my heart for Winona Ryder anyway. I love Winona Ryder. But I thought that she was pretty fantastic in this movie, dude. And that's my MVP. That's my poser performance, dude. What scene or sequence kind of like stole your heart? What was one that you enjoyed I would like to go first on this because you touched on it, and I'm pretty sure you're going to probably say the same thing.
Okay, go for it.
That dream sequence, the Eskimo. I mean, I loved all of the funeral sequences.
Yeah.
I found them to be the most funny. I just, like I said, they're doing this. One, it's led by Glenn Shaddix. Again, I'm going to keep saying that name over and over.
Keep saying it, dude. Say the full name every time.
But he's so funny, and he's such a presence on screen. But the scene, the first one when they're at the first Veronica's funeral, the head Veronica. I keep saying Veronica. When they're at the head Heather's funeral, and they're praying to God, and it reveals all their internal, like, what they really care about. Every character in this movie is out for themselves, and it's almost like in the Old West when guys would duel in the middle of the street. Whoever got shot dead, they'd go and just pick his body clean of like things that they could use. It's kind of like all the characters in this movie, right? Even the teachers, everybody was all about like how it benefited them or how they could.
That's true. They
could use it to propel themselves in some different way. But that sequence was great. And then the dream sequence was one, it was stylistically awesome. It reminded me of a Tim Burton, like a Tim Burton-esque scene. Yeah, they're all wearing 3D glasses. Yeah. Shaddix is talking about Eskimo, and they bring it in a real weird moment because you almost they start the scene, they transition with the establishing shot on the second Heather, Shannon Doherty. So you think, okay, he did it, JD did it, and then as they pan out, they reveal it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder until you see Winona Ryder come in the back, and then you kind of go, okay, this is a dream sequence, and then the first Veronica comes in like this pseudo vision. But I have to say the dream sequence in this movie I thought was pretty well done.
I think it's so funny that I didn't even catch that it was a dream sequence, especially because that character that supposedly died was later on in the movie, and I didn't even put two and two together. So
I think it sounds like you checked out of this movie at a certain point. I think it hooked me in, and you checked the
F out. It spit me out, dude. I watched the whole thing. Okay, so my favorite scene, I already said it, and I wish I didn't say it earlier, but the scene where they meet the football players out in the golf or in the park or whatever, the way that was filmed was like the coolest looking scene in the entire movie. I kind of liked that part where the bad boy kind of came to save her from the creeps. But then, of course, it spilled out, and he ended up murdering both of those football players. But just the way that scene was filmed felt like a different movie.
Who had the most iconic death? What was the most iconic death for you?
Probably Christian Slater's character, dude. The very end. I do kind of wish that they had it in the budget to have like his body parts fly and all that stuff. But I think that was the coolest death. I loved that the smoke cleared and she was just covered in smoke like she was just in an explosion, and her cigarette was already halfway gone, and then she just walked through the school. I thought that was the coolest death of the movie.
I think my favorite death in the movie, again, we're talking performance. We're not talking about like, oh, we love seeing people die. Stylistically, I think the first Heather's death was impactful because the way it went down. And I just love the shot where it's shots from her kind of convulsing after drinking this to an overhead shot of her falling through the glass coffee table.
I had an issue with how quick that death was, though.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, you drink Drano, you don't have much time before that finishes you off. Yeah, and again, that's where like that's the John Waters-ness of this movie, and like over the top, pulpy, and but then the thing I love about that scene after that is both of them, JD and Veronica, kind of dealing with it in the moment, and not knowing. He's kind of thrilled by it, and she's like, what have I done? We have a segment here we're gonna do called the sexiest moment. I don't know if that can really sexiest moment. I don't know if that can really apply to this movie.
There is one, dude.
Glenn Shaddix.
All right, there's two.
He oozes sexy, dude.
He oozes for sure. There's the scene where Veronica is like consumed with the dread of everything that's happening, and she goes and she like backs up into the shower and like pulls her hair back, and she's just all wet. And I feel creepy now having the segment, the sexiest moment, but that was the sexiest moment of this film.
I think for my sexiest moment, because like the way we're kind of thinking of it, Glenn Shaddix, the part where he was like Eskimo. No, but like I think like sexiest moment could either be literally sexiest moment or it could be kind of stylistically. And I think mine was like the dream. I think that dream sequence, like, stood out the most to me. Just in
Okay, so you're
in
gonna
terms
make
of
me the
style.
creepy one, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, it's the most beautiful scene."
I mean, I'm gonna be creepy, but it's gonna be artistic creep. That's
Okay,
different.
okay, fair enough.
We got to do favorite line of dialogue.
I
What was
have
your
mine,
favorite?
dude.
I have mine ready to go. I hope they line up. I don't know that they will. It's a long
It
movie, but
it's the
you go first.
smallest. It's the smallest scene in the movie. It's literally like 4 words, but whenever he said it, I laughed so hard, dude. When the cops are in the park and they hear the gunshot, and then the second one goes off, and the cop that's been smoking weed and is high just yells out, "Oh shit, let's roll!"
Yeah, dude.
It made me laugh so hard, dude.
That was really funny.
Let's
really
roll.
funny. My favorite one is at the funeral when the linebacker and the quarterback everybody thinks that they died because they couldn't come out of the closet and they were gay lovers.
Oh, the dad.
And the dad's looking at his son in the casket and he's giving his eulogy and he goes, "I love my son. I love my gay dead son." Or "I love my dead gay son."
Yeah, that was really funny.
There's just constant lines like that where it's like it's supposed to be like this sad moment or tragic moment, I guess. And there's just these lines of dialogue that are so cartoony. Finally, final verdict. We have done a rewatchability, and I think if you can include a rewatchability score in here, let's do it. But I think one way to determine is with this movie, with Heathers, would you buy it? Would you stream it? Or would you watch it on TV? And when I say watch it on TV, you know what I mean. It's like a sick day or you're taking a nap, which sounds like you probably did. I guess I have your answer.
I was awake the whole time, dude.
Like every once in a while, like you'll sit there if you have cable or if you just have regular. And it happened to be more when I was a kid. But you'd be like asleep on the couch and you'd wake up to a movie maybe midway through and it would hook you and be like, that was actually like a really good movie. I sat through copious amounts of commercials. So would you buy it? Would you stream it? Or would you watch it on TV?
This movie's out on Arrow 4K, and that made me very excited until I saw it. I would stream this, dude. Yeah. If I had nothing and I just saw it again or saw it on the streaming site and it's been a few years, I might throw it on just for the funny one-liners. But I don't think I'd buy this movie, man.
I mean, I should say buy it because I literally did buy it on digital, the digital marketplace, and I watched it in 4K and it was good. This definitely would have been a movie that I was intrigued to buy on Arrow before I watched it. The only reason I say stream it is because I don't know if I would ever watch this movie again. I thought it was really good. It's interesting with this channel because we watch movies of varying degrees. Last week we watched Chinatown, which if you I don't know that 2 movies can be further on the spectrum of style than Chinatown or Heathers. But yeah,
do you know what Chinatown didn't have though?
Winona Ryder? Glenn Shaddix.
Glenn Shaddix. Sorry.
Glenn Shaddix, baby. Oh, imagine if it did. It would like.
Oh, it'd be so good, dude.
It would crest like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Citizen Kane is the best movie of all time. Maybe there's a Shaddix cut out there that we don't know about, but
I want to replace the gardener in Chinatown with Glenn Shaddix, dude, and he's just like, the salt water is bad for the glass.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what?
But he'd be like, the salt water is bad for the glass.
Yeah, dude.
You go that was a much better Glenn. Yeah, yeah. So, all right, I would give it probably rewatchability. That's the reason I would say stream it is because I think first watch is the most impactful watch. Knowing like it's not a fun movie in per se, it's very quotable. Like if you had another person, like if I had another person in my life that got this movie like I did, and we were saying quotes back and forth, that's one thing. And if you wanted to go back and reference, but I would say stream it. I think it's definitely you'll enjoy it more if you stream it. But I would give it probably rewatchability. I would give it a 2.5 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, I was close, 2.5 to 3, but that is completely dependent on the quotes. The movie overall, I didn't really care for, but I will probably watch this again someday, just because I want to giggle a little bit, dude. And I'll give it a 2.5.
All right, man. Well, I think that covers everything. I think we covered everything that we wanted to hit. Do you have anything else to say about Heathers?
I want to say rest in peace to our boy Glenn, dude. I didn't know that he was not with us anymore. You will be missed, and we will be watching more of your movies on this channel. I assure you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for, making it this far. Thanks to our, the comments section. Again, you suggest movies and we try to watch them, and it's awesome because I don't know that I would have ever watched Heathers. I wouldn't have, it's not ever been on my list. Tell us your movie, your film poser confession. What movie have you never seen that maybe we haven't seen either, hit like, subscribe, come back. We'll be here next week. Thanks, Vince. See you next week.
Yeah, dude. Have a good one.
Glenn Shaddix.
Confessions of a Film Poser.